We are one day into Nebraska spring practice, and the Huskers' brand new special teams coordinator Mike Ekeler is already changing the game, facilitating competition at returner, kicker, and punter. So in today's video, I'm going to give you a huge update on how special teams is looking. What are the big changes? Who's our returner going to be next year? Had John Hall actually locked up our kicker spot? And everything else you need to know. So really quick, I am fired up about this update, talking specifically about Mike Ekeler. Hey, if you are too, hit that like button. And also, if you support what I'm doing here, daily Husker football content, spring practice updates just like this that you can't get anywhere else, please join the family, hit that subscribe button. Helps me out more than you would know. Once again, please hit that subscribe button. Thank you so much. But without further ado, let's get into it, going over this update, talking specifically about Mike Ekeler and Nebraska special teams. You know, this is the stuff that people really don't like talking about in the offseason. They think that special teams are boring, that, you know, talking about kickers, punters, long snappers, return men, it doesn't really matter. But then we get to the fall every single year, and we're watching Nebraska football, and we say to ourselves, oh, wait, maybe we should have focused a little bit more on special teams because it's losing us a lot of games. So now, this time around, it's time to actually focus on special teams. And Mike Ekeler, man, he is already impressing a lot of people. I want to get things started with the number one thing that Mike Ekeler said he was going to do when he got to Lincoln. Okay, when it comes to the special teams. Not kicker, not punter, not getting down the field and tackling an opposing return man. Not even long snapping. Mike Ekeler has said time and time again that he wants a dynamic return man for Nebraska, something that we haven't had in over a decade. Okay, since DeMornay Pearson-El. Nebraska, for the last couple years, we've had Oliver Martin out there with the fair catch symbol, not ever returning a single punt. We've had Isaiah Garcia Castaneda back there. We've had these random wide receivers just go, catch it, fair catch it, and then go to the sideline. We have never had a dynamic returner in the last 10 years plus. That changes this year with Mike Ekeler, and that's something that was mentioned on the first day of spring practice, that open competition starts now. Open tryouts, basically. Who is going to be our kick returner? Who's going to be our punt returner? Let's get things started with the 5 names that I want you to watch out for to be our dynamic kick returner and punt returner, because that's a big game changer. If the Huskers can flip the field in a punt and return for about 20, 30 yards and get inside, the opposing red zone, that is a game changer. We have not had that. Iowa has that. Wisconsin has that. Ohio State has that every single year. And that's what makes our special teams elite, and it helps out the offense. Want to know why Nebraska can never get good field position? Because we don't have elite return men. That changes this year. Let's go to the 5 guys that I want to watch out for at that kick return spot. The first thing that Mike Ekeler is changing, the first guy I want to watch out for is Ja'Cory Barney. Going into his second year with the Big Red, we already know what Ja'Cory Barney brings to the table as a dynamic wide receiver, but people forget that he did return punts a little bit last year for the Huskers. Now, I want to make things very clear with Ja'Cory Barney. I do not feel comfortable having him return kicks. Okay, kickoffs, I mean. I want Ja'Cory Barney to return punts for the Huskers. It's a completely different technique. A lot of times when you're returning kicks, you're more susceptible to injuries. You want more of a sturdier guy back there because there's guys flying out of all directions trying to come and tackle you. So you don't feel comfortable with Ja'Cory Barney returning kickoffs necessarily. I don't really care about kickoffs. I care about punt returns because that's where you have an opportunity to flip the field. Ja'Cory Barney, I think, is going to be our lead punt return this year. And again, he does have experience returning kicks. He did that last year versus Wisconsin, had that big 50-yard return. But Ja'Cory Barney, I think, will be our starting punt return this year, along with some of the other guys I'm going to mention. But man, he's so dynamic. He's going to continue to develop himself, catching that football at a higher level so he doesn't muff the punt, which is very hard to track that ball in the air 50, 60 yards up. But Ja'Cory Barney, man, hearing some good things already about him in spring ball, as you'd imagine, but I expect him to be our feature punt return to begin the year. But going on to some other guys that I'd watch out for. At that kick return spot with the kickoff, I expect Andrew Marshall to be a guy who starts going into the season. 185 pounds, transfer from Idaho. He was one of the best kick returners in FCS football. He's super dynamic. He's super fast. He's twitchy. He's quick more than anything. He has good eyes. He can, find a cut real quick and find a hole, in the kickoff return and take it to the house. Andrew Marshall is somebody who I'm super excited about returning kicks. So while I think Ja'Cory Barney is going to return punts, Andrew Marshall is somebody who's going to line up probably returning kicks. Mike Ekeler really, really likes his game. And then, a couple other guys I'd watch out for. Isaiah Mosey. Love Isaiah Mosey, what he brings to the table. We talked about him recently on the channel as one of my breakouts. I don't think he's going to redshirt. He's one of the most athletically gifted wide receivers we've had in a long time when it comes to, making plays after the catch. He can play running back as well. He can be a slot receiver. So that just means he's going to be better as a return man because he knows how to break tackles. He knows how to make guys miss. He knows how to make plays in space. And he was one of the better returners in high school as well. So Isaiah Mosey, I think, is going to compete for that job and potentially burn his red shirt, being one of our more dynamic return men. And then you got a couple other guys here I'd watch out for. Makai Nelson is somebody who the staff really, really likes. Again, coming out of Pennsylvania, 185 pounds. More of your, I just like him at kick returner because he's a sturdier built guy. He's not going to fumble that football. There's a lot of fumbles on kick return sometimes. He's going to come down with it. He's going to have two hands under it, and he's going to get some yardage, but he's also pretty dynamic. And then Hartley Gilmore is somebody who I absolutely have my eyes out for at that kick return spot. Again, super, super aggressive player. I'd say that he's trying to take every single ball to the house every single time. So those are the 5 guys who I'd watch out for at the kick return spot and the punt return spot. Just know this. The days of Nebraska having a Oliver Martin back there and Isaiah Garcia Castaneda back there, fair catching the football and not doing anything, those days are gone. Mike Ekeler, that's the first thing he's caring about in spring practice is changing that. So that's the first thing he's changed. He changed the game of the return aspect. But it also should be talking about what he's doing at kicker and punter. Because Nebraska's had a problem there over the past couple years. We sit here and we talk about John Hull like he's guaranteed to be our starting kicker. John Hull was not good last year, and I understand that the long snapper had some issues, and the long snapper was a bigger issue. But you even go back to the Iowa game. John Hull missed a good opportunity to potentially win the football game, and that was a good snap, it was a good hold, and John Hull just missed it. Okay, we give Isaiah Nader all the grief for losing that football game on a drop, but we never talk about John Hull missing that kick. Do we really feel comfortable about John Hull being our kicker next year? Because I don't. I'm not settling with that. What about Nico Otto-Manelli, 4-star kicker going into his second year? That's a guy who I'd absolutely watch out for. Now, Tristan Alvano probably, I don't think he should be here going into the fall. You guys already know how I feel about that. I just feel like you're wasting a roster spot in a guy who's just never going to be any better. And his confidence is already shaken. But the kicker situation is something I'd watch. I would not be shocked. We already talked about this. If Mike Ekeler at the end of spring ball says, we're going to get another kicker because I want to add competition. I want excellence. I don't want, just okay. I want excellence. Would not be shocked if Mike Ekeler takes a kicker in the transfer portal. And then, you go to the punter spot. We have competition there. Jack McAllister brought him in for Washington. He was good for Washington, but we've seen punters drop off every now and then. Now, Brian Buschini dropped off. He had a terrible year when he first got here. Then in 2023, he was awesome, and then in 2024, he was average. Okay, punters are unpredictable. Camden Cook is a guy I'm looking out for. That's a second-year player as well for the Big Red, son of legendary punter for the Nebraska, Sam Cook. So a lot of interesting moving parts here on the special teams, but one thing that I want to cap this video off talking about is Mike Ekeler's approach. And this is the approach of the entire coaching staff. It's excellence. It's not just, the bare minimum. Because that's what it used to be on special teams for Nebraska. Bare minimum. Have a guy who can go field, a punt without muffing it. Go and have a decent kicker, not a great kicker. Have a decent punter, not a great punter. That was always the approach for Nebraska. With Scott Frost and Matt Rhule. That changes now with Mike Ekeler. It's all about excellence. It's all about flipping the field, winning the battle of field position. That's how all these Big Ten football teams win. Michigan does it. Iowa does it. Illinois does it. Penn State does it. Nebraska is about to do that because of Mike Ekeler. This was the biggest move Nebraska made this offseason. Nobody's going to talk about it. Nobody's ever going to give it the respect it deserves because we like to talk about the fun positions, the wide receivers, the DBs, the D-line, the O-line, the quarterback play. But when we sit here in November and we play Iowa, it feels like every single year the special teams are the most important position on the field. And for once, with Mike Ekeler at the helm, we are not going to lose the battle of special teams. We're going to go out, we're going to dominate all sides of the football field, and we're going to win football games when it comes down to the wire. So I've been impressed with Mike Ekeler so far in spring ball. We're only one day in, but I'm looking out for that kick return battle. I feel confident that we're going to have some really, really good dynamic kick returners this year for the first time in a long time. All right, guys, let me know your thoughts down below about Mike Ekeler. I'm super excited about what our special teams are going to do this year. Let me know in the comment section your thoughts. Hey, if you made this far on the video, you know what to do. Hit that like button and subscribe. As always, folks, go grab, go Matt Rhule. See you in the next one.